If the only tool you have is a hammer, you tend to treat everything as if it were a nail. This famous quote from Abraham Maslow is super applicable to learning and development as well. Let's say that an employee hurts their back while lifting heavy boxes. If L&D treats the problem as a hammer, they will sign up this person to a safe lifting techniques training. If L&D steps into the shoes of a consultant instead, they will avoid the hammer trap and try to take the problem apart, finding the root cause and deliver a solution that actually works. Hello and welcome to the L&D Academy's channel. My name is Irina and I'm a learning and development consultant. And today I will pull back the curtain on what L&D consultants actually do and show you the tools and the mindset that help us create real lasting impact. Let's start at the beginning. What is consulting? Do a quick search online and you find that consulting is a systemic approach to providing specialized expertise to solve organizational challenges. At its core, consulting is about bringing in expertise to tackle challenges and solve complex problems. An L&D consultant, for example, helps organizations figure out what's really going on, like why turnover is so high or why teams aren't performing, and then comes up with solutions, whether it's fixing onboarding, building skills, or designing targeted training programs. Sounds simple, right? Well, not always, but that's what makes it exciting. So, how does L&D consulting work? It isn't that different from any other consulting, truth be told. The only difference is in the expertise. Say you're working with a change management consultant. What they usually help with are large transitional projects like mergers, restructuring, or implementing new systems across the entire organization. An L&D consultant, on the other hand, focuses on performance-related challenges like improving leadership skills, designing robust onboarding processes, or boosting employee engagement through targeted development programs. The goal here is, again, the same. Analyze the issue, get to the root cause, and provide a solution that drives meaningful change. So let's talk about two types of L&D consultants, internal and external. Internal consultants are the in-house experts. They live and breathe the organization they work for. They know the ins and outs of the company's culture, the processes, and the people. They're also super accessible, which means they can jump in very quickly when there is an urgent issue. And because they're always around, they can build strong relationships with employees, making it easier to gain trust and support for their initiatives. They're also perfectly positioned to support long-term projects and continuous improvement because they're in it for the long haul. But let's be real, there are some downsides. Internal consultants can sometimes lose their objectivity because they're so deeply embedded in the organization. Plus, their exposure to trends and best practices outside the company can be somewhat limited, which means they might miss out on some fresh ideas. And if they're not specialized in every area the company needs, there could be skills gaps. Oh, and one more thing. They might face pushback when suggesting big changes because, well, internal biases are a thing. Now, let's flip the coin to external consultants, like me. We come in with a fresh set of eyes and objective insights, very often spotting things that people on the inside might just overlook. We also bring in a broad perspective, thanks to working across multiple industries and staying up to date on best practices and trends. Need specialized expertise that's not available internally? That's where we shine. And because we're flexible, we can scale up or down depending on the project's needs. Plus, our experience tackling a wide range of organizational challenges gives us a solid foundation to solve complex issues. Of course, hiring an external consultant isn't all sunshine and rainbows. We do tend to come with a higher price tag. After all, you are paying for that outside expertise, and once the project wraps up, our availability for follow-up support is usually limited. There's also a bit of a learning curve when we first start working with a company. We need time to understand the organization's specifics, its culture, the people, the processes, the systems, and because we're not part of the team, it can take a little bit longer for us to build trust and rapport with employees and other stakeholders. So whether you go with an internal or external consultant really depends on your organization's needs and priorities at the time. Both have their strengths, both have their challenges, but the key is finding the right fit for the job at hand. By the way, whether you're an internal L&D consultant working with one organization or an external one, like me, the process is similar. So let's take a look at the 5-step process for L&D consulting. Now, the steps I'm about to describe are something that I use as an external consultant, but you can very easily adapt it to your needs as an internal consultant as well, and I will show you how. Also, to make my life a little bit easier, for the purposes of this video, I will refer to L&D as the consultant, and then the organization or the requesting manager or director, basically whoever else is requesting my services, I will refer to them as the client. All right, let's dive into step 1, get agreement. This is the foundation of any successful consulting project. Before we can even think about solutions, we need to be crystal clear about the problem we're solving. Let's say that your client is losing money. They've got expenses going out, revenue trickling in, and no idea where the leaks are. Your first job? Pin down the desired outcome. Like, figure out exactly where the money is being lost and then agree on a solution to stop the bleeding. But it's not just about defining the problem, it's also about setting the stage for the entire partnership, or even setting boundaries, if you will. This means agreeing on roles and responsibilities right from the start. Who's doing what? Are you there to just provide advice and then let the client take the reins, or will you also be part of the implementation? Hammering out all of these details up front will save you countless headaches down the line. Trust me on this. Now, as an external consultant, this is where I draw up a contract to make everything official. But if you're working as an internal consultant, a very simple email or a well-documented project charter will do the trick. And if you're wondering how to make this process even smoother, check out our L&D project charter. It's a very handy template that helps you outline roles, responsibilities, and project goals so everyone's on the same page from day one. The link is in the description, and there's also a promo code that you can use to get 50% off. Once this agreement is locked in, you're ready to move on to the next step. And that's when the real detective work begins. So on to step 2, collect and assess data. Once you know your role in the project, it's time to roll up your sleeves and dig into the data. Your mission here is to figure out who's doing what, when, how, and why. Think of it like putting together the pieces of a puzzle. To do this, you need to rely on methods like surveys, interviews, focus groups, or even reviewing existing reports like engagement or exit surveys. The goal is to gather enough evidence to point you towards the root of the problem. Now, here's the tricky part. You have to approach this step with a completely open mind, because it's very tempting to jump in with assumptions or an idea of what you think the problem might be, but doing that will skew your research and lead to biased conclusions. As a consultant, it's not your job to have all the answers up front. It's your job, however, to uncover them through the data. Let me give you an example. A few years ago, a client asked me to design a leadership program for one of their management teams. Now, the first thing they wanted to know was, what will the program include? And my honest answer at the time was, I don't know. Why? Well, because I needed to understand their organization, their people, and their challenges first. It took 2 months of surveys, interviews, and data analysis before my team and I could confidently design something that actually met their needs and pain points. So don't rush this step. Collect the facts, look for patterns, and let the data guide you to the heart of the issue. Because when you get this right, the solutions practically design themselves. Now let's move on to step 3, give feedback and plan forward. At this stage, it's time to sit down with your client and share what it is that you found. Think of it as connecting the dots and presenting a clear picture of the problem. The way I usually structure this conversation is in 3 parts. I start with all the facts that I've discovered. These are the hard, indisputable truths I uncovered during the research. Then, I talk about all the opinions I've come across. These might include feedbacks, feelings, perspectives that in a way help add color to the facts. Finally, I talk about my interpretations. This is where I connect the facts and opinions to figure out what they might mean. And here's a pro tip. Always start with the facts, because facts are objective and your client is more likely to recognize them as valid. Once they see the facts, they might even help you interpret them in ways you hadn't considered before. Let me give you an example. I once worked with a client whose employees overwhelmingly preferred learning by talking to and asking others, so very social learning preference. But instead of social learning opportunities, they were only provided with online courses. And my initial thought was, no one asked these people what they wanted. So I shared my findings or my observations with the client, and they explained that they had already tried social learning initiatives in the past and they didn't work. So they invested in online courses instead. That extra context changed entirely the conversation and led us to a completely different solution. Now, after reviewing the facts and interpretations, it's time to plan the next steps. What's the solution? Will it be a face-to-face training or individual coaching? Is it going to be a one-off intervention, or are we talking about some kind of a long-term development program? What resources and support will your client need to get from where they are today to where they want to be in the future? And this is where you and your client start shaping the roadmap to success. Once the step is complete, it's time to once again roll up your sleeve and move into step 4, implement the L&D solutions. If you have done your due diligence, established the desired outcomes, and agreed on the next steps, this is where you go about implementing those steps. Now, depending on the scope of your role, you can either be involved only up to the problem definition stages or all the way to implementing large change projects. We have a ton of videos on our channel about all the awesome things that you can do at this stage, like trainings and webinars and online courses and coaching and onboarding and gamification, no. So make sure to check out the playlist in the description to learn more. But this isn't the end of the consulting, however, because the final thing you need to do is step 5, evaluate the success. The grand finale where we find out if all the hard work paid off. Now, this step is all about measuring results. Did we hit the KPIs we set at the beginning of the project? Did the organization save money or boost performance or achieve the desired outcomes, whatever they may be? And let's not forget the big picture. What impact did the intervention have on the team, the department, or even the entire organization? Here's how I usually approach it. I sit down with a client for an honest, in-depth conversation. We look at what we've done, what we've accomplished, what went well, and just as importantly, what didn't. And this isn't about assigning blame, it's more about learning and improving for the future. As an L&D consultant, a very big part of this step is focusing on the people. Did employees walk away with, say, new knowledge, enhanced skills, or a better mindset? But don't stop there. Zoom out and think about the ripple effects. Did your work improve collaboration, reduce turnover, or even shift the organizational culture? Again, let me give you an example. A while back, I worked on a leadership program with a client. At the end of the project, we reviewed not just the participants' progress, but also the impact on their teams. And it turned out that the program didn't just enhance leadership skills, it also improved team dynamics, it boosted engagement across the board. And that's exactly the kind of insights you want to uncover during this step. Now remember, evaluation isn't just the end, it's really the start of the next cycle, because every project offers lessons that can inform the next one. So take the time to dig deep, reflect, and celebrate the wins, both big and small. And with that, you've successfully completed the 5-step L&D consulting process. Now that we've gone through it, you might be wondering, what does it actually take to be a great L&D consultant? Well, having a clear process is of course important, but it's just one thing. The magic really happens when you combine it with the right skills. So let's dive into the top 5 skills that will help you excel as an L&D consultant. First up, we have problem solving. This is the heart of consulting. It's all about having the curiosity to dig deep and find out what's really going on. Whether it's a high turnover rate or low employee engagement, the ability to identify issues and think creatively about solutions is what sets good consultants apart. Then there is analytical thinking. As an L&D consultant, you'll constantly face complex problems, and your job is to break them down into smaller, more manageable pieces. It's like solving a puzzle. You need to spot patterns, identify relationships, and make sense of the bigger picture. Next is communication and influencing, and this one is huge. You need to be able to listen actively, present your ideas clearly, and most importantly, persuade stakeholders to get on board with your solutions. Whether you're in a boardroom or a one-on-one meeting, communication can truly make or break your success. And let's not forget change management. Consulting often involves leading change, and that's no small feat. You'll need to understand the psychology of change, manage resistance, and work with stakeholders to make transitions as smooth as possible. Finally, there's critical thinking. This is where you take a step back, evaluate ideas and data objectively, and make decisions based on evidence rather than assumptions. It's about being thoughtful and intentional in your approach. So, are you ready to step into the shoes of an L&D consultant? Take a moment to reflect on these skills. Which ones are your strengths? And which ones could use a little extra attention? If you're serious about building these skills, we've got some great resources to help you. Check out our L&D Competency Inventory, a super practical tool to assess your strengths and pinpoint areas for growth. And to take things a step further, we've also got personal development plan templates, which are designed to help you map out your journey and track your progress like a pro. You can find the links to both of these in the description box below the video, and make sure to use the code to download them with a 50% discount. Okay, this is turning into a pretty long video, so let's wrap things up. Now, consulting can truly open doors to tackle challenges on a much deeper level, transforming L&D from order takers into strategic partners. Is it easy? Of course not. But if something is worth doing, it's worth doing well. And this couldn't be truer for L&D. Even incorporating small elements of consulting into your day-to-day work can help you bridge gaps, solve problems more effectively, and create solutions that deliver long-term value. And honestly, isn't that what L&D is all about? What's your take on L&D consulting? Have you tried incorporating consulting into your work? Let us know in the comments down below. We'd love to hear your thoughts, questions, or stories. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more practical tips and insights from the L&D Academy. Until next time, happy learning and happy consulting!